hello, and welcome to the Service Journal, the place the stories of the armed forces come to life, bringing you closer to the real experiences, challenges, and triumph to those who serve. I'm Honored Carlo, your host, and today we're honored to share a special episode that promises to inspire, educate, and resonate each of you. Joining us today is Jailene McCloud, Staff Sergeant McCloud, a remarkable individual whose journey throughout the Army encapsulates the essence of dedication, resilience, and leadership. As just but 27, Jailene's career is a testament of what it means to serve with honor, pursuit, and impact those around you positively. From basic training to becoming a paratrooper and now shaping the future leaders in the Army as an AIT Drill Sergeant, Jailene's story is one to constant evolution and commitment. Beyond her uniform, she balanced life as a student, a wife, and a mother, providing that with determination that potential excellence knows no bounds. So whether you are part of the military community, someone who appreciates the sacrifice made by the service member, or just looking for those of inspiration, this episode is for you. Join us as we deep dive into Jailene's experiences, uncovering the lessons learned and the moments that define a life of service. Now, don't forget to, if you like what you see, to like the button, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay updated on all your latest episodes. Your support help us to continue bringing you these important stories. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Jailene McCloud, Staff Sergeant. Welcome to the Service Journal.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here today.
It's
How
an
you
honor
feeling
to be
today?
here. I feel great. I'm really excited.
Yeah, too. So today is like right now it's a great day here in Virginia. And again, thank you for being here. And it's awesome. This is my first time doing this like live, and you're gonna be like my breaking the ice of
Yeah.
as we're doing this live. Okay, so before we started this interview with you, I gave you the steps and how we're gonna frame this. So just talk to us like who is Staff Sergeant McCloud, where you came from, and what motivated you to actually enter the Army.
Yeah, so I joined the Army in 2017. It was a bit of a rough patch. I didn't come straight out of high school. I actually joined at 21. So when I first graduated high school, I went to college, and I took a little break from college, and I had planned on going back. But then I kind of started working, and I realized that maybe that probably wasn't the right path for me.
Okay.
Not as far as finishing school, but just the environment of actually being like on campus, like going to school. So I just kind of stayed home for a bit, and I think I stayed home for like 2 years or maybe like 3 years. And I just kind of was working a lot of jobs. I mean, I was a teacher, I was a certified nursing assistant,
Okay.
and a home health aide. And I was working really hard. That was in Massachusetts, so
Okay.
it's kind of really expensive there. So I was just kind of struggling to make ends meet. And I started talking to this recruiter that had talked to me in high school. And I kind of had him in the back of my head, but I was like, no, I'm going to go the college route. And then once I started realizing the struggle in the real world, that's when I was like, okay, maybe I should hear him out. And so I was going to, I was still kind of on the edge. And then I kind of realized that the crowd that I was around, I wasn't really going to get anywhere to the places that I wanted to be.
Okay.
And then that's when I decided to join.
So basically, that's your motivation was like, hey, you have plan A, which is going to college, have everything set up, and then, going to your next route, maybe find a job or anything. But in your eyes, didn't work, basically.
Yeah. And, like I said, I wanted to do school. It was just like so expensive. And the recruiter was telling me about all these benefits. And it just kind of seemed like the right course for me to take to get to the things that I wanted to do, which was kind of get out of my hometown and finish school. And I've always kind of been like I love to be uncomfortable. I like to put myself in positions where I'm kind of forced to grow.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be a good way to step out of my comfort zone as well.
Yeah, and then okay, so do you look up to any other services when you start to get into this armed forces stuff?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, some people had told me when I thought about joining the Army, they were like, well, you should look at the other services. And I was like, yeah, I did some research, but to me, I didn't really speak Army. So it was kind of all the same. And so I didn't really see the difference. I was like, well, I'm already going down this path. I might as well just stick with here.
Yeah. So and then how was that experience? So you said that your recruiter actually went to your high school, spoke about the benefits, and that was back in your head. I think you kept that back in your head. That's what happened basically.
Yeah, a year later. And then he actually followed up with me. I didn't really go look for him. He followed up from me, and it was kind of the right time that he did. And I was like, you know what? That actually doesn't sound so bad, because I had just come back from college. I was working, and so I was like, you know what? Let me actually hear him out. And I went, and I was like, yeah, this might be the one for me.
Yeah. Okay. And then how was that process? So once you decided to say like, hey, I want to go to the Army. So what's next? So what happened? Like you called the recruiters like, hey, I'm committed. I'm gonna go. And then how was the process for those that don't know like how the process works?
Yeah, so there was, I actually had to go I took at the recruiter station, they had me take this like pre-test for the ASVAB to see kind of what range I would be in as far as to score. And then I went and took the real ASVAB when I went to MEPS. And then they had us do like, some pre-soldier PT. And so we did a little bit of PT with them, and we did some exercises, and we did some runs and some physical aptitude tests. And it was honestly pretty easy. It wasn't much that they needed from me. We did those couple tests, and then when the time for me to go to MEPS and ship out, I just went.
That's it. And then, so how about the ASVAB? It was difficult or not difficult? You find it like at the moment you took it?
Yeah, it was very difficult for me personally, because I wasn't at the time, I wasn't super big on like book smarts.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not a great tester. So I was really nervous, and then I was taking the test, and I'm like, man, I don't know what these tests is talking about. I don't know what these questions are asking me. So I thought I did horribly, and then I got my score back, and I was like, oh, not so bad.
Okay. And then, and how was the job process, selection process? So once you get the jobs in front of you, so what drove you to actually get the 92 Alpha?
Yeah, it's actually funny. They gave me the choice between 92 Alpha and 92 Yankee. And they're both kind of logistics, for those who don't know. But they told me one, he put it in the terms of, if I remember correctly, he said, you'll be the one with the credit card swiping and ordering all the stuff. Everybody's going to want to be your friend. I said, okay, sign me up.
That's how you did. Okay.
Yeah.
Did they show you any motivational videos or anything like that you remember?
No, they didn't tell me. That's pretty much all I knew, that I would be kind of working with like ordering parts, as far as like educating me on what my job would be. They didn't go too much into depth about it.
Yeah. Okay. So then, did the whole process, went through MEPS, the ASVAB, raised your right hand, right? Now you're in the Army. So, sheep day. So how was that for you? Now, so I forgot to mention like Jailene McCloud. She's a drill sergeant in AIT. We're gonna go further in the conversation. But now looking back, how was that transition to basic training in Fort Jackson?
Oh man, so in Fort Jackson, when you first ship out, they send you to reception at the time. I don't know if they still have it like that, but they sent to reception. I was there for like, I think 1 or 2 days, and it's just kind of in processing stuff. And man, all I can remember is that I was tired. They had you there all day, and I was like falling asleep standing up, because it's all the admin stuff. You gotta go get your CAC. They take your picture. They they issue you your glasses. I never had glasses before the military. They gave me glasses. I was like, okay. So it was just a bunch of admin stuff for like the first day or two, and kind of showing you the very, very basics of what you're going to be doing and how to conduct yourself as a soldier in reception. And then they moved me out to basic. And at the time, I know they don't really do it like that anymore. We had the shark attack. So we had to like bring our bags and we get off the bus. And well, when we got on the bus, they made us put our heads down. We couldn't see where we were going. And then they rushed us off the bus and they tell us to run and they bring us to this mountain of duffel bags, and we had to somehow find our duffel bags in a certain amount of time. And we had to go get our stuff and bring it and hold it over our head, and they're just, smoking us and screaming at us at the time. And honestly, I was loving it. I was like, what is this place?
It's a
I was
math
just
house.
so happy to be there. So it was me. Other people did not feel the same way, though.
They were like scared to the moment, like
Yeah.
they did not understand what was going on. Like, I think they were all crazy. It's like, oh my God, what's happening?
Yeah.
So how was it? How was the actual training after the whole reception?
Yeah, it was like I said, I was really excited to be there. I think also like my age difference, I could kind of see the difference between myself and some of my battle buddies at the time. A lot of people were straight out of high school. When before I came into the Army, I was struggling for a little bit, and I was kind of couch hopping and kind of just like in the streets, just trying to make it. So I knew what it was like to struggle. So for me, that was like a dream come true. Like, I got my own bed. I'm sleeping inside. You know what I'm saying? So it was a really positive experience for me. Whereas for maybe some of the people that were coming straight out of high school, they were like, oh my God, we're in the slums and people are yelling at me. I have worked in multiple jobs. I've been worked civilian jobs. So I knew how to be professional. I knew how to contain
Gotcha. Okay.
a little bit of like if I felt like people were yelling at me and not kind of talking back or, turning up like some of the other soldiers would when people yell in their face. People take it differently. They don't know how to handle it because they've never, been put in that position before. So, we did stuff like the Nick at Night. I think the Nick at Night is probably the one that stick with me the most because I was just so terrified. I think I was actually traumatized the next couple nights after we did the Nick at Night, which is, it's nighttime, it's all black, and they're just shooting overhead.
Okay.
And you have to kind of low crawl across like this long field of just dirt. And they told us, now I know different, now that I've been in the Army for quite some time, but they told us that it was going to be like
Super
just
low.
inches over our head. So if we even looked up, my head was coming off. So I was terrified. So I'm like, I'm low
Trying to do the
crawling.
best possible.
And I'm trying not to look up. And I was the last one out there. I was just going in circles. They had to turn the lights on. They were like, soldier, look up and start crawling forward because I was going across instead of forward. But I was terrified, but it was very exciting. We had stuff like Victory Tower, just things that force you out of your comfort zone. Super high heights, the confidence course, team building exercises, stuff like that. And now it's silly to me because I've just redone it.
Of course.
When I went to the academy, you have to do all of that stuff again. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I thought that this was challenging physically for sure. But now that I've been in the Army for a little bit, my body is not where it used to be. So I'm like, I know this was light work for me back then. Now I'm like aged a couple of years. So. But I loved it. I honestly loved every second of it. I loved the experiences. And I was just super excited to like be there. Every time they asked for volunteers, I was like, I'll do it. And everybody like, why are you so happy? And I'm like, why you're not? This is like easy, and they're paying us to be here.
Yeah. You're getting a paycheck doing this.
Yep.
Like crawling and bullet flying over my head. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Like, you will never get that experience like in the civilian sector.
Exactly.
So like the indoctrination in the Army is unique, right? So they're trying to break you apart and pull you back together. And I think it's part of the process, right? So you mentioned that some soldiers did not understand I think maybe they stay enough now they understand, but when they joined back then, they have no clue what was going on. Like
Yeah.
we all have different experiences on why we joined the army.
Yeah.
Some people join because lineage, because the grandpa, to the grandpa was a military, and therefore I want to serve. Some other people join because I mean, there's a choice, like you were mentioned, right? So you were back home, like you didn't see your life fit in a way, then why not join the army? But in your case, you have the maturity to understand more stuff coming at basic. Like
Yeah.
I think you have the mentality like everything's gonna be okay. Like I'm gonna. The army has 3 rules: right time, right uniform, right place.
Yeah.
If you were trying to do
Yeah.
that, you'll be okay.
And I think that's a huge point. I mean, you said it. It's the mentality, and I that's the one thing. Like now, being a drill sergeant and working so closely with soldiers who like just got out of home, they don't even know how to do their laundry. They don't know it's not as easy for them to be in the right time, right place. When I worked in civilian jobs, if I don't show up on time, I'm losing my job.
Yeah.
Here, you just get a 4-day 56. They give you counseling, and then you keep it moving. But
Yeah, but if you get enough counselings, don't get it twisted. If you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
counseling, you can get chapter out.
yeah, no, this is true. This
Yeah,
is true.
yeah. I mean, so don't rely that you can get a counseling and get out of the way. Do the right thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's what I try to
Yeah.
enforce my soldiers. If you change your mentality about the way that you think of it as a real job, because I think some people come in and they let the environment get to them. They think they're just playing army. And this is your job. You're
Yeah.
getting paid to be here, and nobody asked you to be here. So if your behavior emulates that you don't want to be here, then eventually they will push you out, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Now, basic training for Jackson, and do you had an idea what was your next duty station before going to? Before it was Fort Lee, now Adams, and we're gonna go to AIT. But do you have orders to go to your next place after AIT? Do you
yeah,
know where you were
so
going?
I had knew that after AIT, I already knew that I was going to go to Airborne School, because I went, straight out of AIT, but they did let me know when I originally enlisted.
Yep.
They told me, like, this is where you're going to go after Airborne School. If you pass this, you'll be going to Fort Liberty.
So that was with the recruiting, like you have everything planned out.
Yes.
Even Airborne
Yes.
School.
So yeah, because it was a part of my contract.
So you wanted to be airborne.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna get there in a minute. Now, basic training for Jackson, then next for Lee AIT to do your 92 Alpha. Can you talk about that transition and then specify how was the life from basic now to AIT?
Yeah, so in basic, I told you my mentality was very positive, very excited to be there. Towards the end of my basic, right, a couple days before graduation, I found out I had lost somebody very close to me
Okay.
back home. So when I went to AIT, my mentality was a little bit different. I was a little bit less excited
Okay.
to be there. But it was, so this is something I am fortunate enough to be a drill sergeant in AIT, because I kind of get to be a little bit more empathetic to soldiers and their experiences, and being in an IT environment and going through, personal things, understanding that there are things that you have to do, even when they're pushing through, their own personal struggles. So, but AIT, it was a little bit more laxed. It's not as laxed as it is now. They get a couple more privileges, but we were able to, go to places. We would get a lot, significantly more sleep in AIT, and we were able to. It wasn't so many drill sergeants at the time. It wasn't no drill sergeants.
Yeah, because Drill Sergeant came, after a couple years recently, like a couple years ago. I think when you went back in 2017, 18, right?
Yeah, I
That's
think
when you went.
I would talk to a couple of my soldiers that I had in my last unit. They came in like a year after me, and they said they had drill sergeants. So it was like about to change.
Because I remember the Army brought back the drill sergeant, the hats, just because there was a lot of discipline issues
Yeah.
at AIT. Again, because people went straight from basic going to AIT with the mentality like, now I'm gonna be relaxed, I'll be doing whatever I want, etc. Now is the case because you need to still have discipline. There's some schedules that you have to meet, and you can speak about that in a moment. Like, how is a typical day for AIT? So, can you speak about how is the typical day for AIT?
Yeah, so
Soldier.
we would wake up, we would do PT, and like I said, we had different rooms. So when I was in basic, it was one big bay full of like 60 something females. In AIT, you had your own room. You just shared with one or two girls, one or two females. And you had your own shower. You had your own like areas that you could put your stuff. So that was a big change too. Instead of having to like get dressed in front of 60 other girls, and then we wake up, do PT. And then we'd go do hygiene, and then we would go to class. And so what was cool about my AIT is, as a 92 Alpha, we work in the warehouse. So some days we would go to class, and then they would actually let us go to a warehouse that they had built just for AIT students, so we could actually experience what it would be like to work in a SSA.
So for those that doesn't know that listen to this podcast, what you can relate to a civilian sector, what SSA is?
I always compare it to like a Walmart.
Okay.
Like a big Walmart in the back of the Walmart. So all the parts that you got to put up, the ones that you need to go and give out to customers, and when they will receive the trucks full of parts, we process them, issue them, or put them into our stock. So kind of like just one big Walmart, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a big warehouse. The Army has, say less Walmart, say I can say like an Amazon.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the SSA, Supply Support Activity, is the acronym for the warehouse in the Army. But in other words, it's like a big warehouse like Amazon. Let's say me as a customer, I go to my phone, go to Amazon, ask for a part or ask for anything, and then somebody delivers to me, which is in this case FedEx, etc., or USPS. In the case of the SSA, the customer is the unit requesting parts, etc., and then either they can go to the warehouse and pick up the parts, or if the unit is farther in the fight, then you have other units that can distribute those parts. Like for the FSCs, for example, like they're meant to actually pick up the parts from the SSA and push it forward to the units. So in this case, Staff Sergeant McCloud, she works at the SSA. You're like a process. You process the parts and stores everything, and this is your main job. Now in AIT, you were taught about all this process, right?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. So, of course, they would talk about it, and it's kind of difficult to understand when you're not actually doing the job. So, in retrospect, I look back and I just, PCS. So I moved and I found some of my notes that I was taking from when I was in AIT, and I'm looking at it, I'm thinking back to when I was actively taking the notes, and I'm like, wow, I had no idea what I was writing down. And I look at it now and I'm like, I know everything that is on there because I actually got to go out and do the job. So it can be a little bit confusing when you're in AIT because you don't really know the lingo yet. You don't know the acronyms, or the Army speak of it all. But it'll all kind of click once you actually get to your unit.
Yeah, it's something that you will learn as you work in, right? So it's once you start like hands-on, everything is gonna be clicking.
Exactly.
So 92 alphas or any other AIT soldiers, they get the idea, they get the theories and etc. and the handbooks and FMs and the manuals and the etc. But it's not at the moment until you actually perform your job that you're like, oh, I think I saw that somewhere, and then you go back and refer, etc. to your notes. Now, from AIT, you have orders to 82nd, but then you have to go to Airborne School. So talk about Airborne School. Like, what motivated you actually to go to Airborne School? Because you said you wanted to become, and then how was that experience in Fort Moore now, Fort Moore, Georgia?
Yeah, so my recruiter, he let me know if this was, asked me if this is something that I wanted to do. I was like, well, what is it? And he just was like, yo, jump out of planes. And I was like, and they'll pay me extra money? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, yeah, then sign me up. Why not? Let's just do it. And if I make it, I make it. And if I don't, well, then at least I can say that I tried. And I went, and the school was like significantly easier than I anticipated it to be. Not to say that it was easy, but I thought I was going to be terrified. And I was definitely terrified because I'm actually kind of scared of heights.
Okay.
But it's broken up into 3 weeks. So the first week is ground week, and they just kind of teach you the correct way to fall.
Yeah.
When you
The PLF.
Yeah, exactly. And then the second week is tower week, and you're kind of gliding from a very not so high, but to familiarize you with being in a high at a high distance. At a high level, rather. And then the third week is jump week. And that's when they just send it, and you just go on the plane, and you just...
Your heart is pounding, and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like,
the biggest adrenaline rush, and that you'll pretty much ever have.
your 30 seconds after that chute deploys, that's the best 30 seconds that you're like, this is amazing. But then when the floor is coming...
Yeah, and it's coming at you fast.
It's coming at you as fast.
And you're like, okay, now what do I do?
Which I'm going to say this. I broke my leg in my first jump in Airborne.
No way,
First
jump.
First jump.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to be truthful. So I did break my leg in my first jump. I think it was multiple stuff happening through my mind.
Yeah.
Just because, like I said, jump off the airplane, chute opens, you enjoy the view.
Yeah.
Everything is calm, right? But then when you start looking down, which they advise not to do that, but then you start doing that, the first jump.
Panicking.
You start panicking. You're like, oh my God, this is coming fast.
Yeah, you start to tense up, and you're like...
In my personal experience and the way I think I broke my leg, I did not keep my knee and feet together because I was like freaking out.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Part of the reason, I think maybe I landed in somewhere like uneven terrain, and then everything pushed to my leg, and I broke it. My wife was on the plane. It was on the ground. It was on site, and I had to go ER. But then 6 months later, recovered, pushed me in, and then went back and finished school.
Okay.
And then I have 20 plus.
But you finished
20 plus jumps now.
That's
but
awesome.
I understand what is being airborne and etc. It's fun. It's just like, and again, if you follow what they tell you to follow, you'll be okay.
Yes.
I think what happened to me in personal experience, I freaked out and forgot all the training for the last, couple weeks.
Yeah, but it only took you one, because then you went and you were like, all right, let me get it together the next time.
Next time, this is me. I'm just going down, you know what I mean? Like,
nice
just
and tight.
to that gravity.
Yeah. It's terrifying, but like you said, it's also the most peaceful experience. That there's no experience that I can describe on land, on like when my feet on the ground, that I get when it opens. It's like just the calmest feeling that you ever feel. And honestly, for me, even though I'm scared of heights, the jumping part was easy, because all I had to do was just move my legs and just go. The landing part, that would get me every time. That's the part that was a little bit nerve-wracking, but it's quick. It'll be over with, and you just temporary pain.
Just the landing. And besides, when you do pitch black, like nighttime, it's even worse.
Yep.
Because you don't know where it's coming.
That's why they say every jump is a night jump, because you close your eyes.
Yeah.
You just close your eyes, and it'll all be a night jump.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a great experience. Again, like whoever's looking for Airborne, to be a paratrooper, being in the community, it's a great experience. Once you're in the community, you'll be in the community. You'll get your wings, continue to jump, etc. It's a great experience. Although personal experience, I did not follow. I mean, it was my fault. No, it was not the system. Now, paratrooper went to Fort Moore, Georgia, and then to the almighty 82nd AA. So talk about the 82nd, and what was your role, and what was your first unit?
Yeah, man, what a unit. once you get into the Army, everybody knows about the 82nd Airborne Division. It's very squared away. They call it the center of the universe because it's where everybody pulls from. But it's because it's so high speed. It's very high tempo, and they don't play no games over there. So you got to be on your P's and Q's over there. So it definitely taught me a lot about discipline and kind of squared me away. I think it set the tone for my career being in a unit like that. Because I know like some units may be a little bit more lax than others. For me personally, I think that's what I kind of needed to establish the type of soldier that I was going to be for the rest of my career. Right place, right time,
right uniform.
and they were not taking nothing else.
Yeah.
If you weren't, you will be held accountable for your actions. And so, yeah, I would say 82nd is very big on accountability. You will get held accountable. So you do the right thing and you'll cruise, and lots of really cool experiences. That's where everybody jumps. So, I got a lot of cool jumps over there. I never got to get a foreign jump, which is when, the people from other countries will come and you'll get a different set of wings.
You exchange wings like with other countries. Yeah.
Yeah, but those are the type of opportunities that unit would offer you. Lots of different schools, jump master, air assault. So you get a lot of opportunity and a lot of opportunities to diversify your career and yourself as a soldier. So yeah, it was a good experience.
So do you drink out of the Kool-Aid from the 82nd?
Oh yes, you must most definitely drink out of the Kool-Aid. I tell my other soldiers that all the time. Sometimes you just gotta play the game. Sometimes you do stuff and a lot of people need a reason. 82nd won't always necessarily give you a reason. They won't give you the why necessarily. They would just tell you, execute, and keep it moving. So if you can do that with no problem, that's the place for you.
Yeah, so definitely 82nd is a unique place to be. I never been personally. I've been in other places, but I have trained with them. Me as a OCT, I was a OCT back in Fort Polk, Louisiana, now Fort Johnson. And I did see them in action. We did a lot of JFEs, we did a lot of Seize the Terrain, and I did actually jump with them. It's a very fun unit. Had the challenges again, but it's because they're in a go mission, because they are the one of the ready divisions of the United States. Something happens right now, they have to be ready no matter what. And I bet you did a lot of IDRIS or MAUC deployment readiness trainings, right?
Yeah, we got put on like GRF a lot, so we would make sure that we have to be ready to go in case we got a message, and we'd have like 72 hours to pack our stuff and go. I never got called, unfortunately, so I never got to deploy with them. But readiness was definitely the main part of it. Being mission ready. That was what they kind of instilled into everybody.
Yeah. So any big challenges in the 82nd that you remember?
I would say probably just knowing how to. At the time, I was still kind of learning how to be tactful.
Okay.
And learn how to. I'm a very outspoken individual, so I kind of had to learn how to. Word myself in a way that was not being perceived as disrespectful.
Okay, I see.
Because maybe what is regular to me, it might not be perceived that way to other people. And I knew my job very well at the time, so I was very big on I was very passionate about the job that I was doing. So if I felt like something was, but I had to also understand my position. And I had to understand, the individuals that I was speaking to and how I spoke to them. And I think 82nd taught me a lot about respect and discipline.
So I think it's a factor, maybe you can speak about like the cultural factor, as the Army is so diverse in cultural aspects. And you mentioned something that maybe there's something that you think is right for you, for other person is not. that's basically. Do you see that the same way? Like maybe a lot of multicultural is bringing to the factory.
Oh
Factory.
yeah, 100%. People come from all different walks of life. Me personally, I told you already, I'm Puerto Rican and Dominican. And when I tell people that, they be like, "Oh, so you're crazy or whatever." But I'm really not. I'm just very outspoken. I'm very passionate. Me as my personality, and also where I come from in my city, my hometown, we're outspoken as well. So. But then I might come across somebody who is a little bit more quieter. And I think that the way that I speak and, I talk with my hands and I like to, talk, maybe I'm a little bit louder. Somebody who's a little bit more quieter, even if I'm saying something regular, might take that as, well, why are they so intense? But that's just me on a regular day-to-day
Okay.
basis.
Yeah.
So you also have to be very, cognizant of the people that you're interacting with and take into account
Right.
they might not come from where you come from. They might not understand that where you come from, that is a normal thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it plays a huge role.
Yeah, definitely. We all experience different. We all, I think, wearing this uniform, have experienced different, like situations like that. Now, 82nd from the almighty 82nd AA, the center of the universe. Now the third Special Forces group. How was that up tempo change from you? Like now, you come from this up tempo high place now to the third Special Forces group. How was it?
Yeah, it was a huge transition. Also, when I was transitioning, I was a specialist promotable, and I was just waiting on BLC to pick up E5. So I picked up E5 almost as soon as I got there. So not only was I dealing with the change in tempo, I was dealing with going from being a junior soldier to a non-commissioned officer. So it was a lot of adapting that I had to do. The culture is a little bit different. In 82nd, if a soldier's talking to an NCO, they're standing at parade rest and doing they're really big on customs and courtesies. And group, it's a little bit more lax. They were, wouldn't be in uniform all the time. Sometimes they would go to work and like all blacks, and maybe the customs and courtesies it wasn't enforced as much. So it was a different culture. So my goal when I got there was to kind of bring that back. At the end of the day, we're all soldiers, regardless of uniform or not uniform, unit or no unit. It's customs and courtesies. So I was just kind of took that and try to enforce this, bring the positive things that I had from 82nd with me into that. And it may or may not have always been accepted.
Yeah.
But that was what I tried to do.
Yeah. So, so I'm just do a quick pause because I want to find the right words. Just because I was a commander in 7
Yeah.
Special Forces group. Like we talked briefly about it. There's some soldiers that come straight from AIT to group, and there's some soldiers that come from places from 82nd to group. There's a noticeable difference between those two soldiers.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's just like you said, trying to find the right words. It's just a different level of discipline that's been enforced. I think that because 82nd, the standard is so high. The standard is not the Army standard. The standard is double that over in 82nd. So from coming there and then with the soldiers that are coming straight out of AIT into group, it's kind of like they kind of maybe have learned habits that may not be the best habits for when they go to a traditional Army unit. So now they're learning that, and then they become NCOs, and then they're teaching that. And so you're breeding soldiers, and it's kind of...
And again, we're not saying what's right or wrong, because
Yeah.
I have had soldiers that we call them group babies, right?
Yep.
Great NCOs, great leaders, never been in the 82nd, never been in a traditional trade doc unit, not trade doc, but force com unit. They know is being in the SF community, and I can look at them so like you are a square away NCO or soldier, the case may be, and nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think it's more driven to the personality and understanding and maturity level of the soldier. Just because, like I said, we have those two, different soldiers. We have the one from the force comp, and it doesn't have to be 82nd. It can be fourth ID, ID, third ID, first cap. It doesn't matter. But then you will have some soldiers that don't understand the difference that the army. It doesn't matter you're in SF or you're in like a conventional army. There's rules and regulation that you have to continue to follow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I definitely think, like you said, it's not about right or wrong. It's just about like the standard that they were held to, and maybe it's a different culture.
Yeah.
It's a different culture in 82nd, and I think that's the word I'm looking for. It's a different culture. So as long as what I would try to get my soldiers to understand when I had them in third group was that what is acceptable here may or may not be acceptable in another unit or in another duty station. So that make sure that you're prepared and you know the whole picture, so that when you do get there, you're not set up for failure and you're not looking like ate up or, like you don't know what you're talking about. So I'm going to inform you and give you the knowledge that you have as you conduct yourself here. But just know that when you get to your unit, you're prepared and you have all the information that you have to have.
It's as simple as we have everything black and white. So everything is on regulation, right? Uniform, how to wear a uniform, how to, like grooming yourself. Simple stuff that is one standard across the army.
Exactly. Yeah.
And again, every unit has their own culture based on history. That's why 82nd is so into, because like they've been since forever in the military, right? So they're one of the greatest divisions in the army. Even we can name it maybe in the world. You can say it, but that's how the standards work, right? Because the culture work different places, and all we need to say here is like, everything is black and white. You have doubts, you just go back to the regulations, read it, and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
And let's go back to the right place, right uniform, and right location, and you'll be okay. TERS SF, I think maybe it was one of the greatest experience you had. You never had a chance to get your foreign wings in the third group?
No, so I didn't jump a whole lot. I've got like, I'd say like 12 jumps.
Okay.
So I didn't get to jump a whole lot. Every time there wasn't too many opportunities in third group or for foreign wings. And every time they would have the opportunity, it would get filled up so quick. But my last jump, I had torn my PCL on my knee because I turned with the wind and I was just moving and
MC6?
I landed on my face. Yes. Yeah.
So, the MC6 is a different parachute than the T11. T11 is the one that traditional conventional army use. MC6 is more for the SF. The uniqueness is rounded. The MC6 is rounded instead of like a square, and then it has some toggles that you can actually switch. You can actually play with the wind, and if you want to become a paratrooper and use the MC6, you have to face the wind to slow you down. If you go opposite to the wind, then it's going to speed you up.
Yeah.
And that's what basically
And
happened.
that's exactly what I did. And I don't know what happened. I think I got nervous. Like you said, I just kind of freaked out and I panicked and I pulled the toggle a little too hard and I went into the wind and it was so windy that day and I just landed right on my face. And so, I hurt my knee pretty bad. And after that, I said, I think it's time to take a knee. No pun intended. And just stop jumping for a little bit because I still have a lot of things that I want to do and I don't want to further hurt myself anymore to where I can't do them.
Okay, and then, so for third group, now the Drill Sergeant, right? Mm-hmm. So you were mentioning that you were DA selected. Mm-hmm. So how was that experience like when you got the orders? Like, hey, are you going to become a Drill Sergeant now? How was it?
There was tears. there was some
There's
tears.
tears? Or joy or like
No, not so much joy. There was some tears. I was terrified. This is like, I knew it was coming up for quite some time.
But you're saying that you're outspoken. So
Yes.
being a drill sergeant and being outspoken, go hand by hand.
I think I was just, I was nervous about the school. I think more than anything. The actual position of being a drill sergeant, I was looking forward to, but I know that the school was very difficult. I had some friends who went to drill sergeant school, and they would call me, and I would just see them, like the stuff that they were studying, and I'm like, I don't think I could ever do that. I would never go. I'm not gonna be able to do that. And so I was terrified. I said, there is no way they got me for this. And but I did go, and it was challenging.
Yeah.
But it was challenging in ways that I didn't originally anticipate. I didn't have the difficulties that I anticipated having. I thought I was gonna struggle with like the modules and the pitches and the next movement, which I will name, explain, all that kind of stuff, where you have to like memorize entire pages of just words that are just jumble them together, and getting tested and stuff like that. I actually didn't have such a hard time with that. So it was technically like the technical aspect of it was a little bit more. It was a little easier than I thought it was going to be. Don't get me wrong, it was difficult.
Yeah,
it was very, very difficult.
I heard.
But it was doable. I thought it was going to be impossible. I didn't think I was going to even pass, to be honest. So when I passed, I was like, "Ooh, I don't know how I got here, but I made it."
You made it, and then they assign you to be 92 Alpha AIT drill sergeant. That's basically
92 Yankee.
Yankee.
Yeah, I'm a 92 Alpha,
Okay,
but I work
okay.
with the 92
Okay,
Yankees.
okay. So 92 Yankee AIT drill sergeant. So now from school to here to Fort Adams.
Yes.
So so you just came here in January 2024. So it's a couple months on the seat. So how is your experience now as a drill sergeant with the 92 Yankees?
Honestly, I love it. I love being able to influence soldiers at this level so early in their career. I feel like it's a very unique opportunity that a lot of NCOs and regular units don't get. You've either gotten, you'll on chance get a couple straight out of AIT, but it's rare that you get such big formations. There's 120 per class, and then there's, multiple different platoons at a time. So the amount of soldiers that you're influencing is just, the numbers are just insane. So that when you speak, most of them listen. And so you got to be very careful the things that you're saying and the directions that you're pulling them in, because, a lot of them are straight out of high school. They're very easily influenced right now, and they're holding on to every word that you say, especially when you have a hat and badge. So I take it very seriously, and I try to do my best to, point them in the right direction and put them onto the things that I wish somebody would have put me onto when I was at this point in my career, and maybe, I could have set myself up a little bit differently. And
yeah. So I think like the new soldiers, the new generation, they have this. And I think this more, you have to be careful on what you say and how you say it, just because like now with the ability of looking everything up, like let's say you're talking about some regulations and why not, as a drill sergeant, they can actually trying to confront you like, hey, whatever you said is wrong, right?
Yes.
Have you seen that? Or
Oh, absolutely. I just an hour before I came here today, I had a conversation with a soldier like that, and they were like, well, drill sergeant, I looked this up and it said that I can do this. And I said, okay, I understand what you're saying. You have to pay attention to the verbiage. And that's why, everything you say, they hang on to it. And if you say one thing, they're not going to forget about it. They're going to go back when they get their phones, and they're going to look up exactly what it is. It's so easy. They don't need to know what regulation it is to just copy and paste the sentence that you said, and they'll find the regulation and they'll pull it up, and they'll hold you accountable. So you really have to be on your P's and Q's.
And not only that, like now it's easier with AI. So AI, you can actually, it can open a realm of different situation, they can actually get that note, like a sentence you said, run it through AI, and it will come back with a lot of information. So I'm not saying I'm just saying not to be scared or anything. I'm saying like you have to now be more proactive as a leader, just because like the new generation are getting smarter and
Yeah.
smarter.
Absolutely, absolutely. But in a way, it's kind of a positive,
Yeah.
because then when you do take the time to actually educate them on stuff, they're not just taking your word for it.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing I
Good.
enforce with my soldiers. Don't just take people's word for
Yeah.
it. You need to know the regulations yourself. You need to know where you can pull up and find everything, like you said, is black and white. So if you are ever in doubt about something, or if you feel like something is funny about some guidance that you were given, go ahead and look for it yourself,
Yeah.
because you can.
Yeah, so some people, I'm saying people as a general audience, need to get the bad habits, need to get out of the bad habits, and saying like we used to do it this way. And going back to the conversation of culture, right? So each unit has their own uniqueness of culture, right? So sometimes 82nd do something that the third ID doesn't do it that way, and vice versa. So because we've been doing so many years that way, doesn't mean it's gonna be the right way. That goes back. That's what my comment said. Like everything is black and white. So when you're in doubt, just go back to the regulation and you'll be okay. Because that's our guide.
Yeah.
That's our
Yeah.
guide to navigate.
Yeah. And when in doubt, you just fall back on the regulations. I always tell my soldiers, I said, soldiers, I read regulations for fun.
Yeah.
This is what
There
I
you
do.
go.
I got about 7 regulations on my phone right now,
There you
just already downloaded, because knowledge is power, you know?
Yeah, and that goes back to your work as well. Once you go to the force, there's many FMs and TMs, and to do the PMCS of the equipment. Let's go back, and now they have apps that you can actually look for exact FMs and manuals and whatnot. Everything is going like more digital, and that's good for our soldiers and for our force. Now, going back to your actually education, so you have an associate, right? And then do you do the associate during the military?
Yes.
Can you speak about that? And then I think you're trying to pursue your bachelor's as well. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, so I started, I want to say in 2018, I started going back to school. I had already had a couple of credits from when I went to school before I joined the Army, but I wasn't really anywhere near my associate's degree. And so, I first started taking my class one at a time, just to see how I could balance it. Can I balance work and going to school and being a student? And then I realized, okay, one class is actually not so bad. I said, okay, I did the math and I was like, man, if I take one class at a time, I'll never graduate and get a degree. So I started taking 2 at a time, and that's my max right now. I can't take more than 2 at a time, but it's definitely all about like work-life balance and
Yeah.
figuring out, and then, also life being family. So I had to, figure out my schedule. Okay, if I know I have formation at 06:30 and I'm going to work until 11:30, or I'm going to, go take a shower at 7:30, then I've got an hour, maybe an hour and a half to shower. I could use 30 minutes to do my personal hygiene, and then, or use 45 minutes to do my personal hygiene and use the rest of my time to do a little bit of my assignment. And then, then I get an hour and a half lunch break. So I'll use that and eat my lunch while I'm doing my homework.
Yeah.
So that when I go home at the end of the day, I have a little bit of time for my family, and I'm not just like a zombie on the computer.
On the computer, yeah.
Exactly. So that's kind of how I manage my time. Like, I just got here, and I haven't started taking any classes up yet until I want to establish what my work schedule
Gotcha.
is going to look like, once I pick up a class and everything like that, to see how much I can handle, because I'm very big on giving 100% to everything. So if I'm doing my school, I'm going to give that 100%, and give 100% to my family, and give 100% to work, all without burning out, of course.
Yeah, good. Yeah. So what institution you utilize to do your?
I go to
work?
Columbia Southern University.
Okay, and then do you use any TA or any benefits from the Army to actually fund your education?
Yeah, so I use tuition assistance, and they pay for my classes, and then I actually qualify for Pell Grants, which
Okay.
if
Yeah.
anybody knows about Pell Grants, they give you money to support, any equipment or materials that you need for your classes,
Yep.
which is kind of just like extra money in your pocket. So basically, kind of like getting paid to go to school
Yeah.
with my Pell Grant. As long as I don't fail the class, then I gotta pay that back.
Yeah, so I think that the advice we want to give to the audience is like there's tools out there that they can find. If you're in the service, there's tools that you can actually utilize as your favor to continue education. Um, like I mentioned to you, I call him my nephew, but it's like my wife's cousin. He went to AIT recently, actually 92 Yankee AIT. That's why I talk about San Lopez, right? And I'm trying to mentor him as how he can maximize the benefits in the army. And one of the things and he just started it. So he PCS from AIT to his first duty station in Ter ID for Stewart. He just initiated his bachelor's in psychology
Mom.
because I was able to tell him like, hey, this is the resources you can actually work and follow. Now, I think it is like it is doable, but it's back to your comment that you have to find your schedule and you have to make sure you don't burn down.
Yeah.
Now, we finalized and appreciated the time here. We finalizing this podcast right now. It's a great conversation right now. So I have a couple more questions. So you mentioned that you want to become a warrant officer. So what driving you to do that and how you planning to do so?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of really great mentors as 920 Bravos, which is what, as a 92 Alpha, what the MOS that I would convert to if when I become a warrant officer. And I love my job. I'm very, very passionate about my job. I feel like I'm constantly growing in my knowledge of being a 92 Alpha. And I love that. And I love that I could have do a job for the rest of my life where I'm always learning something. So I'm really excited for that chapter of my life. That's the next one.
That's the next one, becoming a
Yes.
warrant officer. And then okay, so as we closing out, so any advice to those listeners that watching or listen to this podcast they want to join the armed forces, what would you advise them?
Yeah, I would say just be comfortable in being uncomfortable. Push yourself beyond your limits because you don't know what you're capable of until you actually move forward and try it. So just be okay with doing stuff that you might not initially feel comfortable with because you might excel at it. That would be my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, and then so last question, and I think you touched it briefly. You are married to another service member, dual. So how balanced and difficult sometimes that can be in your career?
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. Being away from the person that you love. But luckily he's also a service member, and this isn't our first rodeo. And we kind of figured out what works, what our strengths and weaknesses are, and communication is key on that. So, luckily I'm only like a 4-hour drive, 3.5-hour drive away. So we see each other as much as we can, and you know, lean on each other when we need it, talk every day. But it's doable. It's definitely doable. And there are plenty of resources and like leave days, make sure we take that time for each other. Okay. We might not get to see each other every day, but that's okay. We make sure we take our leave and we'll go on vacation as a family and stuff like that. So it's about having, a strong partner that's willing to put in the work is 50-50 for sure.
And then how you see yourself in the army for the next couple of years? Do you see yourself doing this as a 20 years?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it definitely will be Hopefully not CW4, CW5 in my
CW5.
one day. Maybe a little more than 20 years. We'll see how it works out. I say that now, but
Yeah, now appreciate it. I think it was a great episode again. First time me doing this live. I had a lot of fun in talking to you today. Appreciate it. We're gonna be closing now, so I'm gonna read this. So it's my script. So as we bring today's episode to close, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to Staff Sergeant Jailene McCloud for joining us today and sharing your journey. So I truly appreciate it. Now it's a lot of achievement that we saw in your career that you're gonna continue streaming for greatness, right? So we wish you the best of the luck and the best of the success on your career. Now, to our listeners, thank you for joining us today. Again, we hope today's conversation with Staff Sergeant McCloud served the inspiration. You can grasp something out of this conversation. It's a powerful stories that you shared. Thank you again for sharing that.
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So now, don't forget to like, subscribe this episode, this channel, the Service Journal, if you like what you see, and to continue bringing more stories as Staff Sergeant McCloud. We're gonna continue trying to do the best we can to bring awesome leaders to our platform. Again, appreciate everyone, the efforts, and again, one more thank you. And then keep doing what you're doing, and let's go, mi gente. Vamos allá, let's go. Gracias.